The installation instructions seen in this video apply to Simpson strong tie products only. Other manufacturers' product installations may vary. Hello and welcome to Simpson Strong Ties training video, part of the connector training for contractor series. Throughout this series, you'll learn basic installation techniques for fasteners, joist and beam hangers, mud sill anchors, plated truss connectors, and hold downs.
After watching this video, Introduction to Mud Sill Anchors, you'll be familiar with mud sill anchor terms. You'll also know basic installation techniques for mud sill anchors, and be able to install a variety of Simpson strong tie mud sill anchors correctly. You need to know that products that come in contact with pressure-treated wood should have the appropriate corrosion-resistant coating. The products referenced in this video have our standard G90 coating, but are also available with Simpson Strong Tie's Z-Max galvanized finish or in stainless steel. If you're not sure which product to use, check with your local Simpson representative.
You'll understand the information in this video better if you're familiar with terms associated with mud sill anchors. Let's review some of these terms now.
Mud sill anchors are connectors or bolts that attach the sill plate of a framed wall section to its foundation. This prevents the house from sliding or lifting off its foundation. A sill plate is the bottom horizontal framing member of an outside wall frame or a raised floor system. It lays flat on top of and attaches to the foundation with mud sill anchors. A sill plate is usually made of 2x or 3x treated lumber, but the widths of a sill plate can vary. A stem wall is a narrow wall foundation that's usually 4 to 8 inches wide. A stem wall can be made of either concrete or masonry block. Masonry block is also called block or concrete masonry unit. In this video, I'll refer to it as block. A stem wall made of block has several rows or courses of block stacked on top of each other. Grout is the concrete fill that's poured into blocks. While it's also called concrete, I'll refer to it as grout throughout this video. Consolidation refers to the concrete or grout that surrounds a mud sill anchor. When concrete or grout is consolidated, there are no air pockets between the anchor and the concrete or grout. Anchors are only as good as the concrete around them. Therefore, consolidation is very important for correct installation, and you should always follow the installation processes to ensure correct consolidation. Slab on grade, also called slab, is a type of foundation where a concrete floor is placed directly on the soil to create a slab. The edge of a slab is usually its thickest part and acts as the footing for the wall. Forms are structures that are built to shape and hold concrete in place until it cures. Forms can be made of foam, wood, or steel, and they can be temporary or permanent. Foam forms usually become permanent insulation. Finally, a brick ledge is a foundation wall where brick or veneer may rest.
That wraps up industry terms. Listen for these terms throughout the video. Now, let's take a look at mud sill anchors. Your job is to install the mud sill anchors that the engineer or designer specifies correctly and in the right places. There might be occasions when you won't know which mud sill anchor to use. If this happens, don't install just any mud sill anchor that you have in your truck. Using the wrong mud sill anchor could cause inspection problems and result in red tags. In some cases, it could even shut down a job because it could lead to life safety issues.
Instead, check the plans. If they're not specific, ask the designer or local building department. Simpson Strong Tie offers a variety of different mud sill anchors for different foundation designs and forming techniques. A foundation type may actually dictate which type of mud sill anchor is specified. For example, some mud sill anchors, such as the MASB, are for block foundations only, but others, like the MAS, are for use only with concrete foundations. You can even install some mud sill anchors, such as the MAB, in both concrete and block foundations. Regardless of the foundation type, here are a few tips to help ensure correct installation. Always check that a mud sill anchor doesn't move or drop into the concrete or grout deeper than necessary while the concrete or grout is still wet. This can happen when the concrete or grout is too wet.
Also, some mud sill anchors allow for alternate installations. Before you begin an alternate installation, though, talk to the framer. You want to be sure that your installation matches the framer's application. Now I'll walk you through the steps for Simpson Strong Tie basic mud sill anchor installations.
Anchor bolts, which are also called ABs, J-bolts, and L-bolts, must be centered in the sill plate. The anchor mate is used only in concrete applications and helps ensure correct anchor bolt installation by holding the anchor bolts in the right place before a concrete pour. The anchor mate is used only temporarily, and you must remove it once the concrete cures. Note that you can use the anchor mate only with wood forms. The MAS is designed for concrete applications such as slabs or concrete stem walls. It's usually installed at the edge of the slab or stem wall and lets the finisher trowel right up to the edge without having to steer around the anchor bolts. An MAS has two straps, a center hole, an embedment line, and a hook. Sometimes the hook is called a spoon or scoop, but in this video I'll refer to it as a hook. Being familiar with these parts is important for correct installation. The alignment mark on the MAS is important for one of the MAS's alternate installations, which I'll explain in more detail shortly. You can install the MAS either before or right after you pour the concrete. In either case, when you install the MAS correctly, the embedded portion is fully submerged in concrete, and the straps are outside the concrete. To install the MAS before the concrete is poured, set the straps on top of the form, directed away from the inside of the foundation. Set the embedded portion in the area where you'll pour the concrete. To complete this installation, drive a duplex nail through each strap and into the form. You could also drive an 8-penny or 10-penny common nail through the center hole and into the inside of the form instead. If you use the center hole, though, don't use a shorter nail, because it could cause the anchor to come loose. Then the anchor could shift or be pulled out of place when you pour the concrete. You can also install the MAS after the concrete is poured, but while it's still wet. To do this, hold one strap while you submerge the hook in the wet concrete up to the embedment line. To finish the installation, wiggle the anchor to draw it tightly to the inside of the form and to ensure concrete consolidation. Make sure that the straps are flush to the top of the form. Then let the concrete cure. Watch that the anchor doesn't sink or move during the curing process. The MAS allows for alternate installations, depending upon construction practices and design criteria. If the plans call for a brick ledge, and you're installing the MAS before the concrete pour, follow the same installation process that you would use to attach the MAS to a form, but be careful not to damage the blockout with the nails. Instead of attaching the MAS to the form, attach it to the blockout. A blockout is a box or barrier that is temporarily installed within a foundation to to prevent concrete from entering a certain area.